Congratulations, graduates! I cannot tell you how honored I am to be your commencement speaker. I want to shout out all the graduates who have worked so hard to get to this moment. And to all the families for all the sacrifices you've made so that today's graduates can have this moment. I know many domestic workers work their whole lives so that their children can have a moment like this one. I also want to give thanks to my family who is here, including my 8-year-old stepdaughter, Addie. You all are role models for her, so thank you. Just the fact that you made it to this day is a milestone worthy of ritual and ceremony. And I would be honored to be your commencement speaker no matter what. But your graduation is actually really different. What's happening here today is extraordinary and very special. And I really want you to take this in because you are graduating today from one of the premier institutions in the world entirely focused on the potential of women. All women, Black, brown, Native, gender nonconforming, and trans, all women, to lead and change the world. Let me say it again. You are graduating from one of the premier institutions in the world that is entirely focused on the potential of women, all women, to lead and change the world. And you are doing so in one of the most important moments for our leadership and activism in generations. Culturally, politically, economically, women are the single most powerful force for change in the nation right now. Women are not only on the front lines of protecting our democracy, women are fighting to change every aspect of life in America for the better, for the long haul. You are graduating into a world where you are center stage. But it's a weird kind of center stage because we're powerful and we're also not. Well, we're definitely not in charge. We're more than half of the electorate. In fact, women were 54% of the electorate in 2018. We're more than half of all college graduates, more than 70% of the consumer base. We are powering everything, doing everything, but we're still overrepresented in positions of vulnerability and abuse and underrepresented in positions of power. Gender equality has been a question on my mind ever since I was a kid. I was raised largely by my 2 grandmothers and my mom. As a toddler, I followed my grandmother around her kitchen like a mini shadow. As a child in the summers, I would watch her move around the apartment with focus and clarity. Every minute was productive. By day, she worked as a nurse, and by night, she made delicious food with groceries she somehow bought before she went to work in the morning. She organized the whole family, worked, and always had a perfect perm. Growing up around women like her and my mom, I thought women walked on water. They could do anything. I saw them doing everything, and so I assumed they would also be in charge of everything. That would make sense. I figured they should be. And then the older I got, the more I realized how far from the truth that actually was. And I think that's how I became a feminist. Each generation of women has taken up this question of equality, and we've made real gains through our organizing and activism. We stand on the shoulders of giants: Ella Baker, Wilma Mankiller, Dorothy Bolden, Sylvia Rivera, Gloria Steinem. and so many more who have changed our culture and society. We've changed the laws, everything from the Violence Against Women Act to the Domestic Workers' Bills of Rights. We have changed the workforce. We are now more than half of the workforce, and we are in more positions of political leadership. In fact, we are now 24% of the United States Congress. Women have changed the conversation about everything from sexual violence and harassment to who belongs in the White House. We have changed things, for sure. There's no denying that. But we're still reacting to the dominant culture that we didn't create. We have changed policy, but we haven't made the rules by which policy is passed. We've taken up more space, more roles in every sector of society, but it still sits within the same hierarchy that fundamentally values the lives, work, and contributions of men over women. That hierarchy also relies upon rigid gender norms and a binary between men and women. We have changed cultural norms, but the dominant beliefs underneath haven't yet shifted. The hierarchical spine of it all is still intact. From the perspective of domestic workers, women entering the workforce outside the home never translated into valuing or recognizing the work women did inside the home. Women got jobs in lots of industries, but the work in the home they left behind didn't get elevated. In fact, its lack of value got reinforced. Women of color stayed doing the work. We never changed the way we value caregiving or care work as a profession, and that has hurt all of us. We won more opportunity in a context set by men, but we never changed the context itself. Now, here we are in 2019, and it's time. It's our time, and the stakes couldn't be higher. Children have been put in cages and separated from their families. Whole categories of Americans are being erased and banned. Women who seek abortions are being criminalized, and the doctors assisting them are facing 99 years in prison for providing basic women's health care. White nationalism is on the rise. Gun violence is an epidemic in our children's schools. Our right to vote and be counted is being stolen. The very institutions and moral fabric of our democracy are under threat. And we have been the first responders in this time of crisis. Women are marching, voting, organizing, donating, running for office, and winning at unprecedented rates. We are organizing and taking action. We are rising to the challenge. We have awakened to our responsibility for the future, and we are showing up because it is our time. And this time, together, we have the power to not only change the country, but to lead it and to change it all. That is what is before you now. You are stepping into the opportunity of generations to change the fundamentals of how things work in America. We can change the logic of power in our country to fundamentally disrupt the hierarchy of human value that defines our culture, our politics, and our economy, to not just change things, but run them differently. You're probably asking, how? Well, I'm an organizer, so I believe we have to organize. I know many of you already are in your communities and also right here on campus, from the housekeepers to all the excellent student groups on campus. I see you. I see you and the important demands you are making. I was you as a student organizer, and I need you to know that your organizing truly matters. And my question for all of us is, do you want to change things or run them? And as leaders and organizers, how are we leading differently? Because we don't want to run things for the sake of running them. We want to run things because we're going to do things differently. Well, what does that look like? It looks a lot of different ways. I know what it feels like. There's a famous Maya Angelou quote, "People will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel." I will never forget how I felt on January 21st, 2017. I stood on the stage in Washington, D.C. for the first Women's March, and all I could see was a sea of people and pink hats. As far as the eye could see in every single direction, I saw women of every race, religion, age, gender identity, ability, women who had gotten off of buses, including a ton of domestic workers from Ohio and Louisiana and every place you can take a bus from. And they carried homemade, brilliant signs, hilarious signs, about every issue under the sun, every issue, from healthcare to immigrant rights to climate change. And there was room for all of it. There was no issue that was more important than another. We praised each other's signage. We helped one another navigate the porta potties. We made space in line and shared snacks. And I would say the dominant feeling was joy. Yes, we were afraid and nervous and angry and the entire range of emotions, but the overwhelming feeling was both powerful and joyful. Joyful to be together, that we could create the space for each other, support and protect each other no matter what. Millions of us. Even though we don't see it in our dominant culture, we know in our gut that it is possible. Power does not have to be abusive, extractive, or divisive. For me to have power doesn't mean that you can't. And for me to be seen doesn't mean that you won't. It doesn't have to be a zero-sum game. In creating a place of honor for every issue and every experience, we create a different form of power that is rooted in the whole truth of who we are. In the words of my friend and mentor and Smithy, class of 1956, Gloria Steinem, imagine we are linked, not ranked. We are going to organize and we are going to lead like we're linked and not ranked. We want power and leadership not for the sake of having it, but to redefine leadership itself and to create something new. And I believe we have everything we need to do it. We are going to make every single campus and community and workplace safe because we're survivors. We are going to make every job a job that pays a family-sustaining wage because we, as women, have worked too hard for too little for too long. And you know what? We're going to take care of our caregivers because we are caregivers and we need care too. And we are going to support the leadership of trans women and gender nonconforming people because these gender norms have oppressed us all. And we are going to follow Black women, Native women, and immigrant women because we know a hopeful future for our democracy must be driven by the people it has hurt the longest. And we are going to listen because there is so much we don't know about one another's stories. Rural women, urban and suburban women, we each hold key pieces to the story of who we are and who we can become. We are going to be bold in our solutions because we will have to be in order to build a nation that holds us all up and keeps us together rather than pits us against each other. We have everything we need to set this transformation in motion, and there's one special ingredient in particular that we have that is essential. Right after the Women's March, the main question I got from reporters, this was the first Women's March 2 years ago, the main question I got from reporters is this just a moment? Will it last? Aren't you just angry right now and it'll pass? Won't you get burnt out? Well, here we are 2 years later. And just a couple of weeks ago, I was part of an amazing group of women organizers who launched a new home for women's activism called Supermajority. Within a week, more than 80,000 people signed up as members. More than 50,000 have filled out an in-depth form about their experiences and their interests so that we could get to know them better. And one question we asked them was, what is your superpower? The most popular answer was empathy. This is why I believe we will win. Empathy is our superpower. And there's one last disclosure I'm going to make, which is that I'm a crier. Tissues. My mom gave it to me. She's a crier too. You're probably too young to remember these movies, but Beaches, Terms of Endearment, Steel Magnolias. I literally remember those movies from my childhood distinctly because my mom and I both cried so hard we couldn't breathe and our eyes were swollen for days. To this day, I often cry at events, especially ceremonies like this one. It hadn't even started and I was already crying. Weddings, baby showers, funerals, anything where anyone is being celebrated, appreciated, where someone's unique contributions or humanity is seen, recognized. I sobbed through every episode of the last season of Queer Eye. But for years, I lived in fear of crying in public, especially in meetings. Especially when I'm facilitating or leading a meeting, I felt like, especially as a woman of color, to be taken seriously as a leader, I had to project a steely kind of confidence, and crying would not fit. I believe that vulnerability is not something you wear on your sleeve when you want people to see you as a credible leader. I still struggle with it. I mean, I still cry because I can't help it, but I still feel a lot of shame around it, no matter how many times people tell me it's okay. In the last year alone, I cried through my TED Talk. I cried on stage at the Aspen Ideas Festival as I told the story of being in McAllen, Texas, seeing the children who had been torn from their parents at the border literally being carted off in buses, children younger than Addie. I cried at the National Domestic Workers Alliance Membership Assembly when I and many other survivors in the room told our stories of sexual assault. And each time, the most amazing thing happened. I became a magnet for other women who wanted to organize, women who wanted to both be powerful and human together. It helped us find each other. Each of us will have our things, our reminders of how the old paradigm has shaped us. And the thing to remember is that the thing we may have been trying to suppress in the old paradigm may be the exact superpower we need to lead for the future. Empathy is especially critical in this time in history. Being woke often means being mad a lot of the time. I think that's really important and healthy, actually. But it's also important to remember that this is a nation of humans, and we've all been through a lot as a country. My dear friend Heather McGee, the former president of an organization called Demos, has a really wise insight about this. She calls our country the most ambitious experiment in democracy in the entire world. Because if you think about it, we had the indigenous peoples, the First Nations of this land. And then the first migrants came from Europe to colonize. And then a group of people were brought here forcibly as part of the transatlantic slave trade. And then you had generation upon generation of migration from every country, culture, religion in the world. And then you tell us we are one. It's really a challenging idea, ambitious to say the least. The idea that we are both many and one is both the source of so much pain and conflict and precisely what makes us so unique and extraordinary as a nation. It is also the single greatest organizing challenge in the history of the world. And that is why we need you. As you commence into the rest of your life, because you are graduating from one of the premier institutions focused on the leadership and power of women in the world, and you are graduating onto center stage amidst one of the most difficult times in the most ambitious experiment in democracy in the world, and women are assembling into the most powerful force for positive change in this country. Yes, we are asking more of you. We are asking you to lead and to organize and to take responsibility now, not just for yourself, your community, or even just the people who share your values. We need you to take responsibility for the whole entire project of taking this vision of a democracy into the future and running it all, and doing it differently, doing it together with a whole lot of empathy. Ours is a new paradigm of power where we are linked and not ranked, and we are connected. In our logic of power, there is room for the whole of who we each are, in all of our imperfections and our brilliance. Black, white, brown, native, urban, rural, suburban, across the spectrum of gender identity, ability, age, and class, all of these experiences together are what will make our organizing and our leadership powerful. Our ability to model being powerful together, being linked, is what this country needs to see to know that it is possible. When I was in college, I discovered Audre Lorde. Her poem, A Litany for Survival, was profound to me. It felt like a love poem to all of us who felt we couldn't be our true selves and free in the existing paradigm. I believe she wrote it to help us know that we are not alone. Her stunning poem closes with a call to action, so it is better to speak, remembering we were never meant to survive. She reminds us that we are living in a paradigm that was set up to fail us, so we should speak our truths. And what is on the table right now for all of you, for us, is a chance to lead in the service of a new paradigm, to create a new future where we not only survive, but we thrive. And so, to the beloved Smith College class of 2019, I would offer a twist on Audre Lorde's words. It is better to lead, remembering you have the power to change everything. I believe in you. We believe in you. We are so proud of you. Congratulations, y'all.